Welcome to Communication N5. Right, I'm going to lecture on the topic advertising. I'm going to lecture on advertising. Right. So I'm aware that in N4, advertising was discussed, right? So I'm just gonna recap on what was discussed in N4, right? So I'm going to start by give a definition for advertising, right? So there are so many companies that advertise the products on a television. There are many advertisements on SABC. So I'm going to define what is advertisement. Advertisement is defined as any paid form of non-personal presentation and promotion of goods and services, right? And even ideas by an identified sponsor, right? So for a company to advertise, they're supposed to pay, right? They're supposed to pay, right? Their advertising cost, right? So advertisement is the presentation of non-personal uh, and promotional of goods and services, right, and ideas. And we know that Shoprite is the one that is advertising by an identified sponsor, right? So it is any paid form of non-personal presentation and promotion of goods and services and even ideas by an identified sponsor, right? I'm going to move on to the purpose of advertising, right? There are reasons why companies advertise their products. They want to inform the public that they are still selling the product. They are still selling the product. They also want to remind them that they are selling the product, right? And also they want to persuade them to change their opinions. They want them to change their behavior or opinions on the product, right? Shoprite might want to persuade customers to change their opinions about the company so that they can buy the products in Shoprite, right? They might want to inform the public that we have a new product in the market. They might want to inform the public about the new products in the market. They want to remind them, the customers or the public, that they are still selling the product. They are still selling the product. Right. So the main purposes of advertising is to inform, to remind, and to persuade the audience. Right. So there are three purposes of advertisement, right? Let's move on to basic requirements. Basic requirements for effective advertising. Right. So for an advertisement to be effective, there are requirements that the advert must meet. Right. So I'm going to start by explaining the first requirement, which is the IDA formula. So IDA is an abbreviation. It is an abbreviation. IDA is an abbreviation, right? So A stands for attention, for A, I for interest, D for desire, A for action. Right? So what does it mean? It means that an advert should attract the attention of customers. An advertisement should attract the attention of customers in the market for it to be effective. So how can an advertisement attract the attention? by use of bright colors, red, green, by use of music. They can place music in the background just to attract the attention. Or they can use bold, big headings on a newspaper just to attract the 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 attention of the audience. They can even use capital letters to attract the attention of the audience, right? So I'm going to move on to I, 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 abbreviation I, which is the interest. The interest. So I'm saying, what does it mean? It means that the advertisement should arouse the customer's attention. As soon as the customers or the audience sees or saw the advertisement, they're supposed to have interest on the product or service, right? So how can organization make sure that customers interest to arouse upon watching the advertisement? They are supposed to provide information about the product, right? They're supposed to provide the uses of the product, the features, the ingredients in the product or service, even the price and the quality, the unique features of the product, right? So that people will be interested in buying the product, the uses, the features of the product, the ingredients, the price, the quality of the product, right? So I'm saying, upon seeing an advertisement, interest should arouse. Interest should arouse. Interest should arouse. I should feel like I really want the product. I should feel like I really want to buy the product, right? Interest should arouse, right? I'm going to the later, the abbreviation, the next abbreviation, which is D. D for desire. So what does it mean? It means that an advertisement should create desire for the product, right? Once the audience saw an advertisement, they should have desire to buy the product. So what can the organization do to create desire for the product? They play on the customer needs and fears. They play on the customer needs and fears, right? So you still remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, whereby we are talking about um, uh, status, security, safety, uh, the need to save money, the need to save money, right? Um, uh, they play on these customer needs to create the desire for the product, to create the desire for the product, right? I'm going to go to the last abbreviation, which is last letter on the abbreviation, which is what we call action. Action. So what does it mean? It means that an advertiser should move the customers to action, right? How can an organization move the customers to action, right? By providing the contact number, by providing the contact numbers, right? By providing an address on where the product is being sold, right? Also, by inviting customers to act, e.g., they can use statements or phrases like "while stock lasts," or "buy one and get one free," or 50% off, or that there is a competition that needs to be won, and don't miss out on this great deal, right? These phrases can make customers to act on the product, to act on the product. They make customers to act on the product. For example, while stock lasts, someone might rush because you say, I'm not aware what is in stock. What if maybe there are they've stocked few products that they're selling. So one will rush to a boxer because he's afraid that is going to you will not be able to get the product because people would, it will be already sold out. So that's how organizations or companies make customers to act on the product, to act on the product. right? So I'm going to move on to another requirement for effective advertising, which is the product and service, right? Advertisers must, advertisers must, advertisers must know all the aspects of the product. They must know the aspects of the product. They're supposed to know information like the needs, the ingredients in the product, the unique features of the product, the product life cycle, and possible weak points of the organization, of the product. They should know all the aspects of the product. They should know all the aspects of the product, its unique features, it's the ingredients, right? And also the possible weak points of the product for an advertisement to be effective. For it to be effective, they are supposed to know the features of um, the product, the ingredients and the product, etc. Right. So I'm going to move on to the next requirement for effective uh, advertising, which is the target market. Right. We're saying advertisers need to know their target markets. They should know their target market well. Right. So we have different categories of markets. Right. Customers. Right. Different categories of markets. Right. We've markets can be categorized according to the geographics where customers resides, né? And where the business is located, right? So meaning to say, when a shop is located in Bloemfontein, that's where people resides or where the business is what is located. And also, it can also be categorized according to demographics, which includes the age, the income, the gender, the educational levels of the target market. And lastly, it can also be categorized according to the psychological, whereby we're talking about the lifestyles, the attitudes, the hobbies, and the values, right? It can be distinguished. It can also be categorized according to the psychological, which is the lifestyle, right? The upper markets again and the lower markets, and also the middle markets. They have different lifestyles, right? Let me go to the last um, uh, requirement for effective advertisement, which is what we call the aim of the advertisement, right? The aim of the advertisement, which is it is the main purpose, which is to inform, to remind, and to persuade, right? So advertisers should know the main purpose of the advertisement. They should know the main purposes of the advertisement. Like, for example, the road safety campaign will persuade customers or audience to think of the consequences of their driving behavior. They can make a campaign, they can advertise safety, road safety, right? So that people will be persuaded to drive carefully and to avoid reckless driving right? Right. I'm going to move on to the the fifth one, which is the feedback from the customers. Feedback from the customers, which is also another requirements for effective advertisement. Once the product has been advertised, the advertisers has to know the feedback, or they have to know, they should get the feedback from the customers. So advertisers need to get to the advertisement. The advert is worthy nothing if there is no response, right? So for example, when they advertise and Kellogg's noodles, right, the advertisers has to know the response of what, of customers in the market, right? So how do they get feedback from the from the customers. They can give questionnaires. They can distribute questionnaires, and then they'll be able to compile data, right? They can survey. They can also use social media like Facebook to get feedback, or they can observe, which is observation, right? They can observe the behavior of people, the changes in behavior of people, right? For example, those kilo noodles, we have a high um, might have a high sales, right? High sales after advertising. So if the product has been sold more than before the advertisement, it means that the advertisement was effective. Observation. They can observe the behavior of what customers, right, on the product, just to obtain the feedback from the customers, the response from the customers, right? And lastly, the psychological needs of potential customers, psychological needs uh, of potential customers. We are saying for it to for it to be effective, they should also consider the psychological needs of potential customers, right? So what are we saying? What am I saying? We're saying advertisers need to be aware of this, and the only way of looking at the needs and wants of the people is by applying what Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Psychological needs or of potential customers. So Maslow needs includes it has Maslow's hierarchy of needs has 5 levels of needs, right? We have what we call the lower level need, which is what we call physiological needs. For example, child abuse, child line, social benefits, security benefits, roadside recovery, right? And then we also have safety needs, which includes home security products or house insurance or life assurance. They can also play on this psychological needs of customers. Everyone wants his home to be secured, so they can sell, advertise security home security products like alarms, like cameras, etc. Right. Um, and then let me go to the third level of need, which is what we call social and love and belonging needs, whereby it includes dating, chatline, clubs, and membership societies, right? They can also play on the social needs, right, to effectively advertise the product. And then esteem needs, whereby we're talking about cosmetics, fast cars, home improvements, furniture, fashion clothing, drinks, lifestyle, and products, right? They can also play on the esteem needs to be recognized, needs to be recognized, needs to be recognized. People need to be recognized, right? So they can sell cosmetics, right? For nice skins. They can also sell fast cars or sport cars, right? They can even sell furniture just to satisfy this level of need. And then lastly, let's talk about presentation styles, right? Presentation styles. Or I will, let me stop here, and then I'll talk about presentation style in the next session, in the next presentation, right? So thank you so much for your time. I think I'm going to end here, right? Stay blessed.